Well, hey, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Getting ready to record episode 118 of Mike in the Midwest. So here we go. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 118 of Mike in the Midwest, a mini podcast for the amazing patrons just like you of the Be Our Guest podcast. Of course, my name is Mike Rallman, host of the Be Our Guest podcast. You can find me on the socials at Be Our Guest Mike. And if we are not connected, let's make it a point to do that this week. Let's do it today. I'd love to talk to you over on Instagram or Twitter. That's typically where I hang out. You can find me on Facebook at Mike Rallman, Rahlman. And if you want, but I don't go on Facebook very often. And I never use Facebook Messenger, just so you know. If you send me a message over there and I don't get back to you, I don't even have that app on my phone. So I don't use that very often because there's so much spam and so much politics and all that stuff. I just steer clear of that. I can use Twitter and Instagram to kind of make sure that I'm just following what I like to follow there. Disney, sports, that kind of stuff. Keep it fun and keep it light. So let's connect over there and let's have a good time talking some of the fun stuff that you like. And let's make it a great week. But I hope you're having a great week here on Tuesday. What is it? October 11th already, 2022. Yesterday was my dad's birthday, October 10th. So happy birthday to the Dodester. Yes, my dad's name is Dodie. So hope he had a great birthday. Haven't talked to him today. So hope he had a good one. I know he was probably bummed because the Los Angeles Rams are on a 2-game losing streak, but kind of tickles me. I like to see the Rams lose because I'm still bitter because they left St. Louis. So, I don't know if you're a guy. I think this is kind of a natural thing. You have to have something that you and your dad argue about, like, every time. Like, it'll never go away. And for my dad and I, it's Rams football. Like, we get along great. We can talk baseball forever. We agree on almost everything when it comes to baseball, but he's a traitor because he works for the Rams. And I get it. I mean, he has a great gig. He gets to travel with the team. He's got a Super Bowl ring last year. I mean, the thing is sweet. The box it comes in, it even like lights up and rotates the box. I mean, for the ring, it's like the little ring, though it's not a little ring, it's a gigantic ring. And it's got it's almost got like its own little dome stadium. This thing probably costs more than my car. And so, I mean, I'm excited for him. And he gets to go. He's been to every NFL stadium. He's run the radio for the Super Bowl. I mean, he's done cool stuff. I get it. I'm super proud of my dad, but still, could he not find one of the other 29 teams in the NFL to work for? It's the team that left St. Louis. For the love of God, let's go to a different team anyway. So he can work for the Rams. He can have his great experiences. And every Sunday, I can root against the Rams. This is how it's going to be. So anyway, you get it if you have a dad. I mean, I'm sure moms and daughters probably do this, but probably 10 times worse because it seems like emotions between moms and daughters intense. Everything they do is intense. And we'll talk about that here in just a minute. But hope you're doing well. The weather here in St. Louis, kind of fallish today. We're getting some rain. Finally, man, it has not rained here in St. Louis probably in 3 weeks. It has been beautiful. I mean, just no rain, highs in the like upper 70s, low 80s. Some days highs in the 60s, but sunny, just beautiful weather. But man, we have not had a lick of rain until today. So it's been kind of nice to get some rain. Going to get some tomorrow. Then it's going to cool off again with highs in the low 60s for a while and be nice again. So we've had a pretty nice fall. And I'm actually starting to get excited for Halloween here because what are we, like 2 or 3 weeks away from Halloween? That's an exciting time. Hopefully my little nephew who just moved, my in-law, Pam's sister and her husband and my little nephew just moved less than a mile from us here. So we trick-or-treated with them here in our neighborhood last year. So maybe we'll go over to their new neighborhood and trick-or-treat with them this year. Maybe they'll come back over here again. But you got it. That's the thing is, like, I'm a big kid. And of course, I can't go trick-or-treating. I'm 49 years old. I can't go trick-or-treating anymore. And my kids are too old. My kids are 26 and 14. So I have to find a kid to make the excuse to be able to go around and talk to all the neighbors and pick up some candy, all that kind of stuff. So hopefully we can go around and have a good time. If not, I'll just sit here and we have a little covered front porch and I can sit on a chair and give out candy, which would be just as fun. But I like to get out and about and get my steps in and have fun like that. So anyway, we are getting into that time of the year. It's exciting. I can't believe Thanksgiving will be here soon. Christmas will be here soon. What I am worried about, for all the lizards and all the runners, wine and dine race weekend. This thing is coming at us like a freight train, 3 weeks or so until we're down there running in the corrals. I have my plane tickets. I have my room at Pop Century. I don't have theme park reservations yet. I have my annual pass ready to go. I have my registration for the races and the challenge, but I still don't know if I'm going. We'll see. It's all about the left knee. I had a good week. I was excited. I'm like, yeah, let's do this. I did back-to-back runs, and then it started hurting again. But we'll get there. We will get there. But it's one of the things. I had a long discussion with Pam Forrester before we recorded this week's podcast, and she gave me the talk that, it's not going to go on forever, Mike. And I was like, well, I know, but I still feel young except for the knee. She's like, yeah, but you're not. And I get it. I mean, it's one of those things. So she said, remember, and she gave me some good advice. Don't be sad that it's over. Be happy that it happened. And so I got to kind of take that. Eventually, I am going to retire from running. I'm not going to do it forever, and it may be coming up sooner than later. But I have had a great journey with the lizards and a lot of fun. I'm not sure it's over, but even if it comes over sooner than later, wow, the memories I've made and the friends I've made, and I still will be active in the lizards. But I'm not one to just walk all the time. I'm too competitive. That's my issue. Is like I just this time last year I was running my PR times. I was running my fastest races I've ever run last year, and now I'm having trouble getting to the distance, period. And that's mentally giving me some challenges, but we'll work through it. Maybe we'll have a miraculous recovery. I've been wearing a brace on my knee for 2 solid weeks, almost 24/7, except for in the shower. This MCL's got to come around sometime. So we will see. I've gone to physical therapy. We'll see what happens, but hope to see you guys down there. And 3 weeks, 3 short weeks to wine and dine. 2022, the Run Disney race season starts. All right, let's talk about what else has been happening here in St. Louis. Last week's show was all about homecoming. And so just a little recap. I'll tell you what, it's kind of nuts. So Mallory went to her first homecoming. First of all, we had the football game. And I always give you the updates on the Francis Howell football games here on the Patreon. I know you could care less. It's a high school that you've never heard of. But we're having a very good season. We're 7-0 now. So the season continues. We're not in the largest school division this year. We're in the second largest for Missouri, but ranked second still. And rolling right along, 7-0. And I have another big game this weekend, this Friday, against the school within our school district. We're Francis Howell. We're playing Francis Howell North. We should be able to take care of them pretty well. I say that, knock on wood. But yeah, homecoming was great. We kind of crushed the other team, and they were the 9th ranked team in the state, and we easily took care of them. Had a good time. The king and queen were coronated at halftime. Mallory got to cheer the varsity game. All the cheerleaders were there. All the Golden Girls, the dancers. The band played their performance before the game. It was just a good time. The whole community was out there. I mean, that's the kind of cool thing about high school sports, I think, especially high school football in a town like ours and probably in a town like yours, is that it can bring a Friday night in a sleepy town. Not that we're a sleepy town. We're a pretty large suburb of St. Louis, but it brings the community together. You get to see people. Oh, hey, what's going on? Like, I haven't seen you for a couple of weeks, and people are there in the stands, or you see them getting a hot dog, or, we have Chick-fil-A at our snack bar. Whatever you're doing we have a little team store for our football team. If you're there buying a blanket because you're freezing, you didn't bring enough clothes, whatever, you see people that, maybe it's your neighbor from across the street. Maybe it's somebody that, on the other side of town, but you haven't seen them for a while. Your kid played some other sport with them. It's a community gathering. And I like that this time of year. I think the fall really feels kind of communal, and it's kind of cool to see that. So Friday Night Lights, it makes me sad because we're over halfway through Friday Night Lights, and it is my absolute favorite thing to do every year. And we're getting there, but I'm enjoying it. So we'll be back up at the H this Friday night. Now for the dance. So here's what of course, the girls, I have 2 girls. I'm a girl dad, right? Don't have any sons. And Paige did her dances when she was in high school, which she's now 26. So that felt like it was ancient history a long time ago. And at Hazelwood West, where we used to live, it wasn't as big a deal. And Paige was a sports girl, played all 3. She was always in a sport every season. So like she would go like straight from like a practice right to the dance or something. She always looked nice, had a great, had her hair done, beautiful dress, always looked wonderful. Mallory, though, this was like an ordeal, like 3 weeks ahead. She had to get the spray tan, she had to get the nails done. It's like it was like a mini wedding. I kept joking about like, is this prom? Is this her wedding day? Is this homecoming? But this is what all the girls do, I guess, now. And so all I was told was Saturday, because the dance was Saturday night. This is dad's perspective here. Saturday at 3:45, go over to this park that is near our house. It's like 5 minutes away. And you can see Mallory get her pictures taken before she goes to the dance, with her friends and with her date. So I was like, okay, that's great. Okay, so because the Mizzou game was on that day, and I'd watch Mizzou almost beat Florida again. Mizzou so close. That's the hashtag for Mizzou this year. So close. We lost it by one touchdown to the Gators. So anyway, watch Mizzou in Florida. Game was over. 3:45. Get ready. Alabama game is going to be on later on that night, so it worked out great. It was kind of in that window in between. Go over to the park expecting to see, Mallory, her date, some of her friends she hangs out with, some of the cheerleader friends that are always spending the night over at the house. I was expected to see like 10 girls, five guys, five girls, 10 girls, whatever. I get over there must be like 60 kids and 100 parents. It was crazy. It was nuts. There were kids everywhere. They have a large, large friend group, which I had no idea they were all going to be there. And what's funny is that, again, this is showing my age. When we went back to homecoming dances, we dressed very formally. Like we'd wear a sport jacket, we'd wear a nice shirt, tie, slacks. I mean, it's kind of how you dressed, and like you would, at least we did in the 90s, and when I was in school, early 90s. Everybody like coordinated with their dates, so you'd wear the same colors. And a lot of couples did that. Mallory and her boyfriend did that, and her date, her just friend did that, and they looked good. But the thing is that some of the guys really went crazy, and there's this one guy that he went all out, and I love this because they were tweeting pictures out from the dance that night. The principal put it. This is what social media does, right? I mean, we didn't have this when I was in school. They didn't have this when Paige was in school. But the principal was putting pictures out from the dance on social media that Saturday night as we're sitting at home watching, the terrible Cardinals game. And he's showing like the best outfits of homecoming 2022 dance. And you have people that are wearing, suits with pink flamingos on them, bright pink Vans. A group of four guys that had on these, bright orange suits with suspenders, just all like coordinated together, looking like there was some, doo-wop band out of the 60s. And the thing is, it just seems like homecoming is probably a lot even more fun than it was for us. When I went to homecoming, and I went all 4 years of high school, trust me, we had a ton of fun at homecoming, but it seemed like it was very formal and very forced and very stressful. This dance, of course, I wasn't there. I don't get anything out of Mallory. She said it was a blast. It was fun. She had a great time. But the way they dressed and the attitude it seems like everybody has going into it, it's just like a school sanctioned party. And I'm sure it was fun for everybody, but everybody was more relaxed and it seemed very free to be themselves and not be scared to, to kind of stick out like a sore thumb. Like it's almost encouraged. And I think that's kind of cool, because like I wouldn't have had the courage to wear something that loud and that out there to a high school event like that. But I think that's super cool because it's like a special time and it's a cool I mean, when you go back and look at it when you're 30 and you look at what you wore when you were 15 to homecoming, you'll either crack up or you'll say, "What was I thinking?" Probably say, "What was I thinking?" But I mean, it shows that you probably had a good time. So everybody had a good time. Homecoming 22 was successful, big football win. Looks like everybody had a good time at the dance. So homecoming's in the books for Francis Howell this year. Now we have homecoming at Mizzou in 2 weeks on the 22nd, and hopefully we can get a home football win against Vanderbilt. And then we'll close the books on homecoming for all the schools this year in Missouri. All right, let's hit the feedback from last week's show about homecoming. My good friend Trisha up in Wisconsin, who's fighting an injury recently. So I just want Trisha to know that we're thinking of her and it's going to be okay. She's going to get over this. You're going to battle through and it's going to be okay. Just like me, it's going to take longer than you think, maybe. But all injuries do heal. and we'll get there together. So here we go. Trisha says, we lost our voices due to the germ factory, 8-year-old kiddo, bringing school germs home. Did you ever suffer the start of year cold as a teacher? Yes, every year. So teachers always get, here's the thing too. It's a 1-2 whammy if you're a teacher is getting sick at the beginning of the school year. One, it is all the kids coming in and giving you all the germs every year. Remember, I taught 6th grade, so did my wife. We taught next door to each other. So we would get that. But the thing is too, the first week of school, here's the other thing that got me all the time. You talk nonstop the first week of school compared to the rest of the year. Because in my classroom, I didn't do a lot of talking. I would present a lesson in short little chunks, but it was always like present a concept for 5 minutes, 7 minutes, stop. The kids would do do some kind of work practice, discussion, some hands-on thing. Then we'd come back together, discuss, like debrief. What did you just do? What did you just learn? What was hard about that? So I never talked for like a long stretch like I am right now. This is hard. I never did that a lot except for the first week of school. So the first week of school, we go over rules, we go over procedures, we go over, just all the stuff that has to be said because of regulations of the building, of the district, stuff like that. So you're doing so much talking the first week of school. And over the summer, you haven't really talked a whole lot, projected your voice. You've sat at home and just talked normal like a regular person. So it's kind of like the 1-2 whammy if you're a teacher. You're around all the germ factories and you're projecting your voice for the first time in a couple of months for 4 hours, and you haven't done that for a couple of months. So yeah, that gets you. Trish continues, and you forgot to mention the Brewers. I'd love to see them in the World Series finals. The running joke is that the Brewers are the best minor league team, and as one of the smallest Major League Baseball markets, we don't get the calls our way either. I get it. I know. And we're not going to talk baseball today. We're just not going to do it. She says, Hope Mallory heals quickly. Kids always seem to. We can be walking boot buddies. I recommend decorating her boot with glitter stickers. Maybe I should put some Star Wars ones on mine. Yes, decorate all the way. Do it. As far as homecoming, I was never a girly girl. I wore a dress and went to the dance once. My favorite homecoming activity was flag football between the junior and senior girls. Our class were beasts, and as juniors, we beat the seniors, something unheard of. Yes, that is one thing I forgot was that Mallory was on the Powder Puff football team, which was the girls. They were coached by the guys and couldn't, obviously, she was a wide receiver. Obviously couldn't play because of the ankle and the leg and all that stuff, the high ankle sprain. So she just watched, and unfortunately they were eliminated in the first round of the tournament. But next year, and I was giving her all the pointers about catching, when you catch the ball, don't catch it with your body, catch it with your hands, keep your hands away from your body, make the triangle with your two hands out in front of you. I was coaching her up, man. I was ready to coach some football. And then the ankle happened. Thanks, Trisha. That's awesome. Flag football, I like that. That's awesome. I guess that maybe the Powder Puff game was probably flag. I don't know. I did because it happened. They did a big day Friday afternoon. And that's when they played the Powder Puff game. It was during school. I know I was bummed I wouldn't get to go. My wife was up there though because she was selling homecoming shirts. Adrienne has some feedback here. Adrienne, thanks for being a patron. I appreciate you. Hey, Mike, thanks for all of the memories as always. High school dances were my favorite parts of the high school by far. I remember that in my 9th grade year, my date was actually grounded and snuck out of his house to take me to the dance. He happened to live down the street from me, so just walked to my house, and my parents drove us to the dance. They never found out he wasn't supposed to go. Dang, Adrian. I'm sure if your parents found out, they'd be fired up that he was grounded and snuck out. I mean, this is like dating that main character on Breakfast Club. What was his name? The guy with the big jacket. I love that. Man, that's a good story. Hope Mallory recovers quickly. Does she have a date for her homecoming dance? And if so, will he be picking her out of corsage like you did for our dates back in the day? Keep up the great work. Yes, they had the corsage and the boutonniere. They exchanged those, and we got the pictures of all that. And yes, that is a tradition that continues. And again, we talked about Deerberg's on the main podcast with the ooey gooey butter cakes. Ricky talked about that place. That's also where, if you live around here, that's where you get your corsage or your boutonniere from the Deerberg's Grocery store, they have a florist, and that's where everybody got theirs there too. So thanks for that feedback. If you have feedback on this show or any other show, please go to patreon.com/beourguestpodcast. I want to hear from more of you this week. So we have 7 days. Make it happen. Let's get some more feedback this week. Patreon.com/be our guest podcast. All right, main topic for today. Let's talk about it. This Saturday night, I have something fun planned. It's going to be fun. I promise you. So we are doing a fundraiser for Mallory's cheerleading squad, for the high school cheerleaders. It's not just for Mallory's, it's for varsity and JV cheerleading. And it's a trivia night. And I'm sure you've probably done these trivia nights where you live in your town where they're just big fundraisers. You go, they have, like at ours, there's going to be 40 tables of 10 in a banquet hall. We've rented out a banquet hall. And everybody, each table plays as a team. It's either 8 or 10 people at a table. It just depends. I don't even know what ours is. I don't know the mechanics of it. But either way, so you get these teams together. You can buy a table. Like the table's like $200. You split the cost between the people. You can bring your own snacks to your table. So everybody decide. This is the best part of the trivia nights, to be honest. Like at your table, you decide, okay, who's bringing little smokies? Who's bringing the brownies? Who's bringing the whatever, the chips and dip, the guac, because you eat the entire time. And usually at these trivias, the drinks are included. Sometimes alcoholic. I don't think there's alcohol included in this one because it's a high school sanctioned event. But I mean, like the sodas are included and stuff like that. So, anyway, you get there and you play 10 rounds of trivia. It's kind of like on a cruise, right? You do 10 questions each round, 10 rounds, 8 rounds, whatever they decide. And then whichever table gets the most correct wins the pot. And so obviously 50% of the money, I think, goes to the charity, like in this case, the cheerleading squad. 50% goes up for the prizes. I think most of it goes to the winner. Like the worst team gets maybe a little bit of money. I don't know how that works. They divide it up. But, this is one of the fundraisers that all over St. Louis, we've done these for years. And I bet you do it in your town too. And we've done them where they're themed like this one, I think, is just a general knowledge theme. But I know there's another one that our basketball team at the high school is doing, like all 90s trivia, which I want to do because I think I'd do pretty well at that one. But yeah, so let me know if your town does these trivias. Now, another thing that I've been a part of, I just want to talk about some of the fundraisers that are a little bit off the wall that I've done in the past just to raise money from the time I was a little kid to recently, in just random order that I've thought of as I was on the treadmill this morning. Because I want to know if you've ever participated in these kind of things. And then I want to hear the crazy things that you have participated in or just seen in your town that you've done as a fundraiser. One thing that we do quite often here in St. Louis, and when I was a DJ, I emceed these quite often. I've probably done 5 or 6 of these. They're called mouse races. And so what it is, like, again, our football team does this every year. We haven't gone to it yet for the football team, but I've DJ'd these for different charities, different groups over the years. You rent out a hall, and basically what it is, you bet on mice. So you have all these in base. It's kind of like the ones I've done. They've set the room up kind of like a mini casino, and I really don't know how you get away with it because it's almost like it is like gambling the entire night. So in Missouri, you can't have gambling except on like riverboats. It's real strict as far where you can gamble and stuff in Missouri, but these, I guess maybe because it's for charity. I don't know exactly how, but the thing is these mouse races, no kidding. So is the host, when I would host these things, you get these books and these mice actually have like names. And they actually have odds. So you even have, like, if you go to the racetrack, and I've only been to a horse racing track once in my life. I went with some friends one time over in Illinois. But like you get like the odds, and I don't even know what the odds mean. It's like 3-1 or 7-2. I don't even know what that means. But it tells you like, okay, this is like a long shot mouse, and this is the favorite mouse. And this mouse, has backstories, which the backstories are probably totally made up. It's a mouse, they probably got out of the pet shop. I don't know where they get these mice, but it's a company that brings all this stuff. And so they bring the mice and they have like a little track. And so they load the mice into the box like they do the horses into the little gates. And of course, my thing was I had to get, I had to make sure I had a track. They went, to bring the mice to the post. And then I'd have to hit the like they do at the horse track, and then lift the gate, and the mice would never run because the mice aren't like horses. They don't like out of the gate and take off. They would just be skitterish, and like every once in a while one would run. And the little track was probably, I'm guessing it was maybe 10 feet long, maybe 10 feet long. And the funniest thing about the mouse races is a lot of times a mouse would kind of sprint out and go like 8.5 feet. Everybody's like, I got my money. They're all excited because they're going to win. And then that mouse turns around and goes right back. And no, what are you doing, you stupid mouse? People are freaking. That's what makes the night fun. So you run like 10 races. You let people bet for about 10, 15 minutes between the races. You play music between the races. Then you have all these little side like auctions. You can do silent auctions for like, we always have like little buckets of like beers and spirits and stuff, or movie nights where you get peanuts and popcorn and movie tickets, little baskets you can get, sporting, gear, stuff like that. But, those were always fun. So mouse races was something that was very popular here in St. Louis for fundraisers. Another thing, now here's one that we did. This is one of my favorites. I doubt you've ever done this one. Two of them. Okay, these kind of go together because we did one time outside, and then we brought it back into the skating rink where I worked. Let me talk about the one I did in the skating rink. This was the smaller version from the big one. We called it the Chickapoo Raffle. Now, this was in the height of when 90s country was super hot. Think Achy Breaky Heart, Garth Brooks, like when country was super cool, kind of, like when it was really, really hot on the radio. When Garth Brooks was burning it up, like with his, big tours and stuff. We had a country night at the skating rink. So everybody was encouraged to wear cowboy hats, wear plaid, jeans. We had beans and weenies in the snack bar. We played all hot country music that night. And one of the other managers at the skating rink, she was a country girl and she lived on a farm out of ways. And she had chickens. So I had seen this thing once when I was with my cousin who lives in the country in Poplar Bluff. It was called something about a cow pasture patty raffle. And so I modified it to call it the Chickapoo Raffle. So what I did was I told her, I said, bring one of your chickens to the skating rink. She's like, what? I said, bring a chicken. It's like, why? I said, just bring a chicken and bring a cage. We're going to make this big cage in the corner of the skating rink. So what we did was we took chicken wire. This is a lot of work for not much payoff. We made this cage out of chicken wire in the corner of the skating rink. And what we did was we took butcher paper, like the stuff you put bulletin. I brought butcher paper from the school, and that stuff you make bulletin boards with. I drew out on the ground of this cage where we put the chicken. I did a 10 by 10. So I had 100 squares, and I put a number on 100 different squares. It was like a grid, 1, 2, 3, 1 through 100. And what happened was we sold every square, I think, for $2. So the kids could buy a square for $2. And we had a charity. I forgot what the charity was. So the charity we gave the proceeds to, but we split it 50-50. So the winner would get half and the charity would get half. So, the charity get $100 and the winner get $100. The way you won, if you figured it out yet, we put the chicken in the cage. In the first place, the chicken took a poo in. That's the winner. So if the chicken took a poo in spot 17, whoever had the ticket for spot 17, you win $100, and the charity just won $100. So it's the Chickapoo Raffle. And I'm telling you what, man, you've never seen 10-year-olds watch a chicken so closely and root for a chicken to poo more than you. And I'm talking suburban kids that have probably never seen a live chicken in their life. It was the funniest thing. It was the greatest fundraiser of all time. Didn't raise a lot of money, but man, the entertainment for me was a 12 out of 10. It was hilarious. So yeah, the Chickapoo Raffle, feel free to use that in your town. Hey, that'd be a good one for your church. Think about how many times your pastor would refer to that Chickapoo Raffle in his or her sermon over the next decade. Some of the other things I've done to raise money. When I was a kid, I remember this. This is kind of a weird thing because this was not for school. This was not for any kind of a charity or any kind of group that I work for. But I recall, now this was when I was probably like 6 or 7 at my grandparents' house. Every time about this time of year, October, early November, My grandma would get these catalogs. And what it would be, it was like a fundraising book. And in this book, it would have stuff you could go door to door around her neighborhood and sell. And I remember it had like samples of Christmas paper. So like you would go to, the people on her street, just go door to, and I would do this on Sundays because every Sunday we would go to my grandparents' house after church and have lunch and watch the football game, watch the football Cardinals. And so while my dad and grandpa were watching the football game, I would grab one of these little, I don't even know what the company, I need to look this up. There must have been a company though that did this. You would get like the little, you'd record the orders, the sheet that you would record orders on, and you could buy candy, you could buy wrapping paper, you could buy little trinkets, you could buy sauce, like summer sausage, but it wasn't like a school fundraiser. You would just sell as much as you could, and the more you sold, the bigger your prize was that you could get and sell off. And when I look back on that, everybody does that at their elementary school. We did that almost every year with our kids. But the weird thing was, like, this was something I believe was a private company, and you just did it as an individual to get prizes. It had no affiliation with any kind of a charitable or a non for profit that I can recall. Do you ever remember doing that? Because I think about that often, and I'm like, is that right? Because I'm pretty sure, and my grandma was as Baptist, like, I mean, she would not cheat a soul ever. So my grandma was on the up and up with everything. There's no way she would have done anything below the books. I guarantee you. So it's just one of those things that I thought was, pretty crazy. So I'm trying to think of some other fundraiser things that we've done in the past. It's really hard to top the Chickapoo Raffle and the mouse races. Of course, we've done car washes with our student council. I was a student council sponsor with Pam for many years. We did that, just stuff like that. So that's kind of what I wanted to get out there and just kind of see. Oh, okay, the reason I thought about this show was because on this week's podcast we mentioned the dollar dance at a wedding reception, and that is something that when I used to DJ the weddings in the 90s, I used to DJ a wedding every Saturday night, basically. It was super common to have what was called a dollar dance. So you would have your first dance between your couple, your husband and wife. Then you'd usually have a mother-son dance, a father-daughter dance. And then right after that, you'd have a dollar dance. So the groom would line up, the bride would line up, and everybody who wanted to, share like a 30-second dance with the bride would come up. You would give 5, $10, and like the best man and the maid of honor would be kind of the cashiers. They would collect the money, and that'd be money that the bride and groom could use to for their honeymoon, for something extra. And it was like super common in the Midwest, at least in St. Louis, weddings in the 90s. But I don't think that happens anymore. But was that something that was common in your part of the world? Because Pam Forrester mentioned it on Wednesday's show, that this was something they called in Pennsylvania the money dance. They did that there too. But I wonder if, because I haven't been to a wedding reception in probably 10 years. Is this something that still happens? Is this something that happened in your part of the world? What was something like that maybe you helped the bride and groom get their life started, give them a little nest egg, give them a little fun money for their honeymoon? So anyway, that's kind of some fun stories from fundraising. So that's what I have. But here's the important thing. We're going to make this more fun next week when we have your feedback. So give me your best fundraiser story from the past. What do you do in your corner of the world to raise money that is quite unusual? Because we're a little weird. Mouse races, Chickapoo raffles, not normal fundraising, but fun nonetheless. And we raised a lot of money for charity doing it. So give me your thoughts, patreon.com/BeOurGuestPodcast, and I'm going to duck out of here. But I promise you, I appreciate you, and I thank you so much for your support. We'll be back again next Tuesday. So until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon.